Back to order. We'll have the county advisory boards to manage wildlife budgets. Dale Hansen, Administrative Services Officer. Welcome. Maybe y'all got a handout on this?
Yeah, for the record, Dale Hansen, Fiscal Services Manager. I handed out a new spreadsheet this morning. I left one out on the back side. It's a revised one, just because we have to get information from the counties, and we're constantly making adjustments and so forth. These are the final numbers that we have. And I'd just like to note that we did make a few adjustments in the last week, just to be more accurate with what the current balance is for each of these cabs with the county budgets. And so the final number that we came up with is, or that we recommend, is $38,314, which is still below what the approved budget is going to be for fiscal year 2012. And we feel pretty confident that we're getting pretty accurate numbers now from the counties and county advisory boards, and that these numbers should reflect, should cover all their costs for 2012.
All right. Now, the one we'd previously had was 22,000. So
Right.
what's the...
The deal, what we have going on here is that when we get the reports from the counties, at times they're maybe 2 months. The last time when they give us a balance, they may actually be 2 months behind in processing all the claims from the cabs and so forth. And so we made some adjustments there to increase that and to account for that.
All right.
Where's the money?
Let's see, this is an action item, so we should have some public comment on this, and then we'll bring it back to the commission, see if the cabs had anything to say. What do we have? Anybody? Mr. Yannick?
Giliana Carson, Advisory Board. I'd like to commend Dale and his staff for getting this done. I know how much work it takes. I hope the system where we provided the cabs with the spreadsheet program to help them so that there'll become standardization in the way that people prepare their budgets. It makes it a lot easier, I hope, for the department to kind of put these things together. And the last bit of the puzzle that Dale's working on now is the issue of getting the latest information from the county treasurers so that the difference between these last two meetings are accounted for based upon their budget. It looks like the numbers on this final sheet are really, really close, and hopefully there'll be no reason for augmentations unless there's some additional meeting scheduled or things that we haven't planned for. But I think the department's done a really great job, and I think that the cabs have fallen in line and got with the program and basically are standardizing the way they submit their budgets, and hopefully things will work out a lot better than they have in the past. Thank you.
Mr. Dixon.
Paul Dixon, Clark County. I'd also like to thank Dale, and ultimately, further back up the line is Gil, is standardizing this process and making it such that when you say to travel from Vegas to Eureka or Vegas to Elko or something like that, there's a standard thing, either you fly or you drive. There isn't left up to people to do things. I think really help get numbers that I think accurately reflect what's being spent by the counties, and I really appreciate Dale's efforts to get up-to-date numbers on what was projected carryover versus not. And so thank you. I mean, I think this year, from my perspective, went the best it's ever went, and actually fairly and equitably across all the cabs lays things out. So thank you and your staff, Dale.
Nito, how's life in Elko?
Just great. I would like to also thank you for all your hard work, but I would also like to say that if I have it figured right, I will need what I put in for, totally. I really do believe that by following the form that you gave me, and I do believe we will need the whole thing. Because I really believe that when everything gets said and done, we'll probably have about $200 left in our budget when this meeting is turned in. So I think you may want to even look again and see what's been turned in, because I think you'll see the numbers need to be just a little bit higher. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Public cup? Come on up. Welcome back to podiums.
Sure, I should have known you would call me when I was in the back of the room. Glenn Bunch with Mineral County. Again, you know, these guys have done good. It amazes me that in Mineral County, he showed I had 111.70 balance at the end of the year. And undoubtedly, that was figures that come from somewhere. The only thing is, it's amazing to me is that the county recorder contacted me on the, after the end of the budget went through and said, could you bring me $20 up? You're overdrawn by 20. And so I took her up a $20 bill, and she says, okay, now we're even. So I should have been $20 in the red on that one, but I'm going to live with 114, no problem.
Okay, next. Seeing nothing else, we'll bring it back to the commission, close public comment hearing on this matter. What do we have? Go ahead, Mr. Vice Chairman, then we'll have Mr. Howell.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hey, you know, I got some questions for Patrick Cates. We just got a notice on our budget, the commission budget, that we're overdrawn. There's a nasty letter. And where does this increase come from? I've got a budget on 427. I got one on 512. Where there's a huge increase. Where does this increased dollars come from?
I'm not sure what documents you're talking about. You mean his original sheet, this one?
I've got two documents. One that says
427,
NDOW recommended 22,000, and now you recommend 38,000 for the calves a month later.
Well, the issue was that I think all of the counties had not reported their information, so we didn't have amounts requested from everybody at that point. And also, they've refined what they projected the end-of-year balance. A lot of them just looked at how much money they had in that account as of April or whenever, not taking into account that there were still meetings to go at the end of the year, and Dale was able to work with them. I think that's really
Let's go another column then.
The difference.
Total requested 38,780. That was in 427, and now we got a total request of 60,159. So where's that difference going to come from?
It's the fact that counties, not all the counties had requested at the point he did that preliminary report. That's the difference.
So they requested more money.
No, if I could speak to that, they didn't request more money. Part of the calculation is that we take the expenditures and we try to get an accurate accounting of the balance, and then that's how we come. Well, yeah, actually, we did have more counties report total requested, and so that's where that bumped up that amount.
You've got expenditures 17.8, and now you got expenditures 27.3. So that means they overspent their budget by $10,000.
No, actually, they were budgeted in FY11 for $46,000, and that's their expenditures through. Most of them are expenditures through like February or March. It depends on.
Well, the commission just got Raine, where we couldn't have a committee meeting, or we couldn't have a commission meeting in April, and we couldn't have one in June because we overspent our budget, and now we got CABs coming up and wanting to add increases to their budget, and we can't increase ours. We just heard it.
No, these aren't increases to their budget. The projected budget for fiscal year 12 is $46,000 for the CABs in total.
Where's that show here? Okay.
The bottom.
Yeah, I got it.
That's how much budget authority we have projected for next fiscal year 12.
And we're not going to exceed that, right?
No, what we're recommending is 38,000. And I mean, this is every year they come and state what their needs are, and we adjust the amount of money they get based
As
on
long as
that.
they're
But we
under-
have
they're
more
under
than
budget.
enough money budgeted to be able to cover this recommendation.
They're under budget right now because
Yeah.
they're at 38 and you're budgeting 46.
Exactly.
I'd be, as long as we don't, I don't think we should go with a 46, what you budgeted. We can't do that.
I mean, they're budgeted the way the commission should be budgeted, is what you're trying to tell me.
Right.
Okay, Commissioner Howell.
Probably a question for Patrick. On the per diem and the mileage and that, is that adjusted periodically? I mean, it's a state thing, right? It's across the border on the state.
Yeah.
They come up with
There's
those numbers.
There's standard federal GSA rates as to how much for meals and lodging and the mileage rates and stuff. They're all federal standards that are
Yeah.
used.
Yeah, I mean, even though like year to year, it might be a couple of dollars a gallon more.
They adjust them annually, but it's pretty nominal. You know, it goes from like 50 cents a mile to 51 cents a mile or 52.
Yeah.
They're pretty small overall.
There used to be a couple big swings. I remember back from the 35 cents, it jumped way up, but then it's been stable since, more or less, huh?
Yeah, but it can change. We'd have to account for that.
One
ahead.
follow-up question. This is based on the number of meetings that we have, obviously. And I'm just going to give you, for example, we're allowed to have 9 meetings. And typically, we've been having 7. But if, it would seem to me prudent to go ahead and budget for 9 meetings, because in case we need to have them for some reason or another. And then that way, it'd be better to have a surplus at the end, I'm guessing.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I have the same belief as Charlie does. In the world of budgeting that I used to be involved with, you take the maximum exposure, which in this case could be 9 meetings. Now, I doubt whether we're going to have 9 meetings anytime soon, given the situation regarding the state. But it seems to me that should be at least.
Does that mean Daryl's out of order?
Wasn't me, I didn't do it.
Yes, it does.
In any event,
Comments from the peanut gallery?
this came up, there we go. In any event, that you would also budget on the basis of that every member of in the commission's case, every member of the commission was going to attend every meeting. And you would apply those per diem rates and all the other factors as if they're entitled to it, and you would budget for it. Now, I realize that there may have been some commissioners in the past who had foregone expenses, and that's fine, that's their right to do so. But I don't think you budget that way. I think you budget based upon the idea that everyone who's entitled to their expenses will be paid those expenses. What bothers me particularly is this time, there had been a statement made at one time that April was not a scheduled meeting. It was. It was scheduled a long time ago. It's part of the 7 meetings. What wasn't scheduled was, and we had to fit it in with the April meeting, was the interview session with respect to, that we're required to by law conduct relative to the search for a director. Now, again, I am a little confused as to why it's our fault to overspend on last year's budget when we had, to my knowledge, 7 meetings, which should have been covered,
This is CAB budgets.
that in many years, in many instances, I didn't even claim expenses because I used my own personal air miles to fly to Las Vegas, to fly to Alaska. I have a house in Las Vegas, so I used my house down there and didn't claim expenses for that.
But it's
So if
budget.
anything, we should have been under budget. So I'm a little concerned about that for the future, because I would hate to see this commission caught in that same trap where you have to cancel what I consider a very important meeting, the June meeting, because for some reason or other, we've overspent our budget. Now, my understanding was that one of the reasons it was given that we overspent our budget was because of the WAFWA deal. Now, you'll all recall, my understanding that there had been $4,000 allocated for one person to go to Alaska because it's expensive. Two of us went and we split that $4,000. And in fact, Dr. Lent and I lost money. But we never asked for anything more than what we were told was the amount. So I don't see how we were overspent there either. But I would hope that at least the budget that's going to apply to us this time is based upon at least 7 meetings. And I agree with Charlie, it probably should be, you should have at least perhaps one extra meeting that you might be able to account for in there. So I'm just kind of letting you know that I'm disappointed in how this whole thing has come down. I don't see this to where we overspent, okay?
And that's one thing I guess I check and see what's involved in these budgets is more than likely every second year, there's at least every second year is going to be some kind of a special meeting that comes up, whether it's legislature, whether it's another director selection. I mean, in perpetuity, there's going to be at least on average every second year, well beyond the lifespan of anybody probably in this room, it's going to be that way. So that's the way things should probably be budgeted, with at least one extra meeting above and beyond what we think is reasonable, because there's always something unforeseen. Is that built into this budget? CAB budget?
The CAB budget?
And that's-
Mr. Chairman, yeah, first of all, we're talking a lot about the commission's travel expenses, and that's a different agenda item. But in terms of the CABs, this was based on the schedule of meetings that you guys had posted. It's 7 meetings, and it was based on that schedule.
Now, we had one meeting that they had previously been scheduled to get, actually 2 meetings that they'd previously been scheduled to get compensated for. And one was the April meeting and one was the June meeting. But since the one was telephonic and nobody get compensated just to go to a local place, and the other one, including myself, and the other one was June, they should have been scheduled for last year. So that money should still be a residual to be carried over to this coming year.
Yeah, and I think that's reflected in the FY11 ending balances. I think that's part of why there are ending balances, because a June meeting isn't anticipated when it was originally planned for.
I don't see that.
The difference between 38 and 46.
It'd be the second number column on that
Yeah,
on
the,
that
the
handout.
estimated FY.
That's how much money they
balance.
should end the year left over.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is because of not having a June meeting.
Okay, go ahead.
So the cabs have to be reduced by one full meeting in June. We're not having it. And then the telephonic meeting we had in April, they shouldn't be reimbursed for that. That should come with the budget because there was no money spent by the cabs on that. So it should be reduced in June. So you're saying the money wasn't spent, so there's a higher carryover on column 2 then on FI balance? Does that reflect the?
That's what we're projecting them to end the current fiscal year
So
with.
therefore,
That
they
would be their
shouldn't need
carry
as much
forward.
money in FY12.
Correct, and what we're recommending reflects that ending year balance. That's exactly how.
Where's that at? Where is that?
On the Endow recommended, it
Yeah, the one
says
that's labeled Endow
38,314,
recommended.
which is about
Okay.
8,000 less than what's budgeted for them.
I still don't understand on the report we had dated 4/27, you got Endow recommended 22,000.
It was an incomplete report. It was
Yeah.
preliminary. We didn't have everyone reported, and the numbers weren't trued up.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a hard time getting reports from the counties because these are such small budgets. They're not a high priority for these guys to respond to us. And so that information's always coming in late, last minute,
Yeah,
pretty
that,
much.
that's
Chairman,
really the
Go
difficult
ahead.
part.
I think they're
Commissioner
they're at the mercy of the county government
Yes,
too,
yes.
because, and it's not the CAB situation, it's the county governments that are taking their
Exactly.
sweet time and reporting
Right. We're making 3 or 4 phone calls, emails, trying to get them to respond. So,
We occasionally have to make calls to some of the counties to let them know that we did in fact give them the money for the cabs to travel.
yes.
They need a little help
All
sometimes.
right, are we done with this, almost done with this item? Any further comments, motions, demotions, promotions?
Chairman Raine,
Go ahead.
I would just like to add about the budgeting part for this stuff. We did actually ask for more money for the cabs in 12 and 13, but that part was taken out when it got approved by the governor's office. And so, I mean, we do try to meet everyone's needs. We try to, anticipate how much people are going to ask for and try to cover all their needs. It's just that we're not in full control of the budget process. So when it goes up the chain, some of that stuff gets taken out.
You know how much you asked for?
I think we ended
roughly?
up, it was around $65,000.
And that's where the 46 came from, was?
Yeah,
after the-
yeah. We added another 19 to the base budget year.
And if I could, when we do get to the agenda item, I think it's 37 on the commission's budget. The budget is a lot different in 12 and 13. We were able, based on recommendations from the Finance Committee, to make increases for next biennium, which should make things easier than it was this current year.
In what amount?
I think we
We'll
could go
see
over
that
that during
Okay,
that
we'll go
agenda
over that
item.
later. Yeah, I'm sorry. Another agenda item.
All right. Motions, demotions, talking about it, Commissioner Cavan.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the projected budget for the CAB for SFY 2012.
Second.
Second.
Just to be clear for the record, could you throw me out a number? The total?
The 38.
It's the $38,314.01.
Just wanted to make sure we got that for the record. We don't have the 1 cent, I'm sure you can get a donation. Okay. If you can accept them. All right. Everybody understand the motion and second? We're missing a commissioner. No, we're not. Everybody understand the motion? For edification, there is currently a motion has been seconded on the floor to approve the CAB budgets in the amount of $38,314.01 as recommended by NDOW. Okay? Everybody understand the motion? All in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All right. All opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Let's move on to item 20, WAFWA Annual Conference. Designate one commissioner to attend WAFWA's annual conference in Big Sky, Montana. Who's available and willing to go to said conference? What was the dates on that? God, I had that somewhere.
Staff recommending nobody attend this year?
What are we talking money-wise on
Is
that?
staff recommending nobody attend this year?
No, they're recommending one.
No, we budgeted for WAFWA trips in the next biennial budget.
An amount of roughly, if you don't have it in front of you.
I can get it. Hang on a second.
All right, you can wait. Yes.
Will these numbers be available when we get to the budget item on the council?
37?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you just get it by tomorrow.
I thought of that item you were wanting to talk about, the current fiscal year issue. I wasn't sure what you wanted
Well,
to
I'd like to
see.
see what we're budgeted for next year, so we don't run into the same.
Yeah, I can provide material for tomorrow for that.
I mean, yeah, if you don't happen to have it on you, I guess we could,
$5,800 is what I have for out-of-state travel for the commission for the next biennium.
and so that,
In
for the biennium,
the
is that
the
annual?
budget for next year.
Okay.
$5,800 for next year. So
What's the
that
delta
should be
K?
adequate to.
What's the change?
Do we,
What's the
again,
delta K on that, the change from last year?
It's $4,000, right?
Well, no, we spent
No, budgeted,
what was budgeted.
budgeted.
Well, again, I don't want to get out of the agenda item, but it
Okay,
was
we'll
it was less than 2,000 budgeted
Well,
last year.
Well, we are talking about the WAFWA annual
Well,
conference.
that's true.
And money
No,
is-
you're right. You're right. But it was, I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but it was less than $2,000 that we originally had budgeted for out-of-state travel for this current year, originally.
What is the department budget for their budget?
For,
WAFWA,
I don't know. For which year?
this year, Big Sky.
For the current, well, Big Sky is an FY11 expense. I don't
Next
know.
year's budget.
I don't know how much we're budgeted for out of state.
Just wanted to clarify a previous comment I may have made, is we should talk about WAFWA, all budget, anything to do with WAFWA now as opposed to 37, because 37 doesn't
Okay.
include WAFWA, so.
I'll bring it under.
How does-
No, right now. Now is the time for WAFWA.
Okay.
We can't,
We shouldn't talk about the WAFWA in 37, because WAFWA's not in 37, but WAFWA's right here.
What is the department budget for Big
WAFWA is
Sky?
part of the commission budget though for 2012.
But it says,
The agenda item says the budget for commission meetings specifically on 37. So if we're going to talk about WAFWA, now is the time to talk about WAFWA.
Well, it's-
so we're on WAFWA, it's on it's on the agenda.
It's kind of tough to talk about something that you haven't got sitting in front of you. You know, I mean,
Mr. Chairman,
You, Commissioner Howell.
we're going to vote right now on who wants to go, or who's going to get to go
Yep.
to this thing. That's all we're going to talk about right this
we
minute.
we
Yep.
need
Okay,
dates, we
my
need
s-
dates though if possible, Charlie.
Yeah,
You all should have got the WAFWA emails. from
Yeah.
Larry Kuchenberg with dates written in your binder.
I did see that.
Okay,
It's been provided.
thank you.
And that, the portion that the commissioners normally go to is a portion of that, not all 5 days. What's traditional? When you guys went up was 3 days, right?
Yeah. 3 or
A little bit
4.
longer, actually.
4 days?
I think it was 4.
5.
Oh, it might be all 5 days.
I think it was 4, yeah. Last day is something that we bailed out then because it didn't involve us.
So approximately 4 days, maybe as much as 5, okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit
And,
specific.
Mr. Chairman, if I could,
Go ahead.
this budget item is to designate, as Charlie said, one commissioner to go. Doesn't have anything to do with the budget. So where do we discuss that?
Well, the sending one person involves having the money to send the person. So I'm okay with discussing
But
the money.
now,
Okay.
bear in mind that the 5,800 he's talking about, if that's the figure, covers all out-of-state travel for the commission. Generally speaking, that's also the second WAFWA meeting
Yes.
that's being held in where, San Diego? Or
Yes.
wherever. So we can't even talk about that because that's not the agenda item either.
Right.
So where do we talk about the budgeting for WAFWA?
We need to make an agenda item for next week.
But if we're talking $5,800, and we kind of get an idea what this one is, that should tell us what the other one is. I mean, we got to have enough money. So, do we have an approximate figure on what this could cost us? This,
I was trying to find something.
what the commission, or what the department is,
It's,
they might,
I don't want to
those
give a
numbers.
figure off the top of my head, but it's probably 2,000 or 3,000, probably more than 2, probably about $3,000. I had some estimates, I'm just trying to locate them.
Okay, I have a question while you're locating that.
With
Go
our
ahead.
DAG, is it proper for me to ask them what the budget is for the NDOW, what they've budgeted for that? No. No? That was it, okay. Other states, Utah's sending 4 people, Idaho's sending 4 or 5 people, and we're sending 1. Is it even worth it to send 1? Why don't we just spend it for travel for something else? I mean, what are we getting out of WAFWA? How much does WAFWA cost us to belong to WAFWA?
You need to do a separate agenda item.
Huh?
You need to do a
Okay.
separate agenda item.
Okay, then, the number of people we send, we got 1, that's on the agenda. Why are we sending just 1?
Because that's how much they budgeted.
We could do what? Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Kevin.
I think we still have the option to do what Commissioner Capurro and Commissioner Lent did last year and share expenses if we have 2 willing parties. If we have 2 people that are willing to go, or I think we could still do that amongst ourselves if I haven't heard anybody say they want to go yet. Do we have more than one person that wants to go?
Mr. Chairman,
I
that
have
was
some
my-
info, some
Okay.
important info if I could.
Deputy Cates.
I was able to locate the documents I was looking for, so I can be precise now. Based on the Finance Committee's recommendations, we adjusted the budget. We accounted for Big Sky Conference, 2 days of travel, 5 days of conference for 2 commissioners. That was $2,400 apiece to travel. And that was based on 5 days, full per diem, full airfare, all that stuff. That's $4,800. That leaves $1,000 to handle the winter WAFWA meeting, which I don't have on my chart, but I believe it was in San Diego. If it's a California trip, that would be pretty close to be able to afford that. But we did, but these numbers were based on sending 2 people to Big Sky.
The last time they went to San Diego, you attended, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
What were your expenses on that one? Do you remember?
Man, you know, that wasn't this winter. That was the year before, so a year and a half.
See, I went
You
to
know, I
Arizona
never really
last year.
dealt with the numbers because, you know, the plane tickets and stuff, that was, yeah.
You know, how many
$1,000.
days was it? Was it a full week? It's less than a week.
It was-
isn't it? So it's less days.
3 nights.
And the airfare is less. I don't have the exact numbers, but when we went through it in finance, my recollection is that was enough for a California trip. They're not as expensive for winter WAFWA for one person.
Yeah,
Yeah. And remember also that the commission has one category that pays for out-of-state travel, and that pays for the in-state travel and commission meetings. So if it's a little more, a little less, you know, that money could go towards more commission meetings, or if you have some left over from commission meetings, you could certainly afford to cover any overage from out of state. You know, it's all one big pot. Just keep that in mind. Cabs are separate. All commissions one.
Ask the
one
question.
category.
I have a question, Ken. If we don't spend if we don't send 2 people, can we carry that balance over into the next fiscal year?
The next fiscal year is budgeted the same way, because it was all based on the
Could we carry
adjustments that we
over and
did.
Maybe have more money for.
It doesn't carry forward.
It
We
doesn't- that's
we would
what
have to do a work program, go to
You
IFC.
gotta use it or lose it.
Commission
I mean, it's,
doesn't go forward, the cabs do.
yes, they're different. We
So
give
we
the,
gotta use it or lose it.
That's right.
yeah. I mean, it's licensed dollars. It goes back into the reserve, but we can't spend it in the next year without going to IFC, doing a work program and bumping it
So
up.
on that testimony at IFC, they said we overspent our budget. It was presented that way because we sent 2 people to Alaska. It was never presented, 2 people were sent, but we never exceeded our budget because the 2 people went to Alaska.
Okay, that's beyond the scope of this.
Okay.
All right, so we got approximate budget of $4,800 for this meeting, roughly. This current agenda says designate 1 commissioner to attend WAFWA's annual Big Sky. Might be reasonable, you know, we could maybe exceed that by saying alternates or something like that, if that's necessary, but
Brings up an
that'd be about
interesting
it.
point. If they budgeted for 2 people to go, then, and you send 1, they'll only spend 2,400 of the 48, and you'll lose the other
Right.
Yeah,
2,400.
and as, should have noticed that on the agenda when we're writing it up, one of many things.
What do we
Can you
do?
send more than 1 or is it?
I don't know, I don't see how that could be
It says designate 1. so-
but the commission, what would the authority be to,
Wanna name
outside of
alternate?
this? It doesn't really need to be an action item to designate a commissioner.
No, it doesn't.
So therefore, we could designate 1 and
An alternate.
an alternate, and perhaps designate another one outside of the purview of the commission.
See, your
If that's what's going
problem
on, okay,
Your problem is, we won't have another meeting
yeah.
prior to this.
Well, it doesn't have to happen at a meeting, is what he's saying.
Okay.
It doesn't have to happen at a meeting. It didn't have to be public, but it's good to have it out here. So anyways, and then there's also the idea of, I mean, there's four members of this commission, may or may not be back, so if any of them well, actually, none of us know how long we're gonna be here, so it's always good to have alternates. Does anybody know their longevity?
The new people won't be appointed until August 1st, right?
Yeah.
So-
They won't be
No,
around.
of July
July
1st.
1st.
July 1st. Term runs out 30th June. So anybody we do, we should probably have alternates. Yes,
Mr. Chairman, what are the exact dates? Did we figure that out?
15th to the 20th, July.
That's 2011.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
15th to-
And like you
15th to
just
the
said,
20th.
we got 4 potential maybes.
4,
Even,
laws,
Ellen.
5,
So all we need
governor,
out of the
7 or
5
8.
that are left is a show of hands who might want to go.
Okay,
Chairman,
yes.
you should go.
All right, who might want to go? Let's go with a wise suggestion from our wisest member of the commission.
Oldest, not wisest.
I could not make a statement like that, sir.
You want to make a motion?
Who might want to? Who potentially might want to go? All right.
If nobody else did.
If nobody else did, okay. Commissioner Pearl, myself. That's only 2 people. That's fairly
Need a
simple.
motion, huh?
Throw a motion out.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we send the chairman to the WAFWA convention
With alternative
with an alternative.
Commissioner Capero, I second that.
Everybody understand the motion? Second on the floor. All in favor, signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Could've done
Motion
that a
passes
long time
8-0. That's what we're waiting for. Item number 21, 2011 Heritage Project Status Update. Patrick Cates, tell us the story. Mr. Deputy Director.
Where's Big Sky at anyway?
Big Sky, it's somewhere near Canada, Kansas. That's a joke. Okay.
Suzanne,
You never know, somebody could take you serious.
since last time.
This was that. I don't know what he did, because I say after he
All right. You have the floor.
Where's Gabe's handouts? I'm sorry, You have handouts? Handouts? No, that's of the FY, this is FY 11 update. Sorry, I drawn a blank here. Give me a second.
This was presented at the committee meetings,
Mm-hmm.
so this really shouldn't even have been on there. There's no way this one.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure how you want to handle this. The update on the projects was presented by Gabe Pinklini at the Heritage meeting. If you wanted to take those together, and maybe Commissioner Lent could update on what the Heritage Committee did. If you want that separate, I'll ask Gabe to come to the table and
You know, one
and
thing I
speak
was
to that.
looking at, if there's mostly involve questions of the projects, of the people that are coming up, essentially wanting to renew their projects or,
What,
yes, go ahead.
Wouldn't this also, my interpretation of this item was to report on all of the projects that were approved
Last year.
for funding last year. Even those that are complete, not those that have asked for an extension, but.
And I know a bunch of those they don't have to have the reports in yet. And
Right.
we're talking August, they might, but they're not forced even by then. They got 90 days, right?
Gabe Pincolini, Department of Wildlife, for the record. As of June 30, they have July, August, and the end of September. They have 90 days to get in their completion report. So usually, I find out, have them all wrapped up, hopefully by October and November.
Do you have a preliminary, the 2-minute version of what's going on here, and go down the list of what we got? I mean, we did,
I could repeat what I gave yesterday.
is it,
It's fairly quick. It's like
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
okay. Throw it out to us, and,
Well, I got it off the computer. It was, oh, he says it's on the, that's
yeah,
it right there.
completion list.
This
Kind of want to know where they're at, and then we'll have a final update hopefully in September, or if it has to be later. So really like to know where these projects are.
Well, but I
Yes.
guess my point is this, at least some of them were completed, weren't they?
Correct.
Dave?
Yes.
Those I'd like to, these we know we're gonna, and we'll discuss that on this, but what I'd like to hear is the ones that have successfully completed their projects.
You got it. Okay. KP Collini, Department of Wildlife. I'll just go ahead and read off only the ones that will be completed or are completed as of this time, because obviously, like you mentioned, you know the ones that are request extensions. So let's start with Project 1125, Monte Cristo, number 1, rebuild with rail fence. That's Fraternity of Desert Bighorn. They have, they bought the materials. They're going to put this in. Probably it's already a done deal, but at the time when I spoke to Galindo, I think it was going to be around the end of this month that they were going to have that completed. And then Project 1121, that's a survey and maintenance project of existing big game guzzlers. That's Fraternity of Desert Bighorn. That one is completed. 1122, Fraternity of the Desert Bighorn, another survey and maintenance existing big game projects. That one is completed. Project 1123, survey and maintenance of existing big game projects with limited access. It's another fraternity project, and that one is completed. Project 1124, survey and maintenance of existing big game projects with limited access. That's the final maintenance one. That one's completed. I have completion reports already submitted with photographs from the fraternity. Project 1107, Regional Mountain Lion Tracking Collars. That was a Kevin Lansford project for Department of Wildlife. That one is completed and the project report has been received. Project 1103, Disease Monitoring of the Conservation of Terrestrial Big Game Species in Nevada. That was by Perry Wolf, Department of Wildlife. That project will be completed by the end of FY11.
Sorry, say that again.
It's the disease monitoring for the conservation of terrestrial big game species in Nevada, and that's the Endow veterinarian.
And the number on that one again.
1103.
Thank you.
You bet. And then what we're going to do now, I might as well take this, is I can get into the extensions that were approved from 10, fiscal year 10 into 11. And Project 1009 was a China Camp Sage Grouse Habitat Enhancement. That was Department of Wildlife, Sean Espinoza, and that project will be completed by the end of June. Project 1027, Sage Grouse Nesting Survival Wildlife Management Area 6 and 7. That's a Nevada Alliance for Wildlife, Pat Laughlin. That project will be completed at the end of June. Project 1023, Mule Deer Enhancement, Hunters Alert. That project will be completed by the end of this fiscal year. Project 1026, Increase Mule Deer Fawn Survival, Attempt to increase fawn to doe ratios and overall mule deer herd, Nevada Alliance for Wildlife. And that project will be completed at the end of FY11. The last one is Project 1030, Factors Regulating Wood Ducks in Lahontan Valley, Nevada. That was by Nevada Waterfowl Association. That project is completed. That's
Okay.
it.
So basically, all the ones that have been previously extended. Okay. Go ahead.
Did you finish with that?
That's it. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I'd like to request that Gabe furnish a request, a full report of what the results were for all the projects after the 90 days. Example, we had a disease project. What were the results? What did they find? How's this going to help the agency? So we know if this project is worth funding the next year when we get it, because we had it on the list this year, and they haven't. We don't know what it was worthwhile to spend money. In other words, what science was obtained from spending all this money? And I think we should have a full report to the commission and the 90 days after July the 1, so the commission can evaluate if these projects have been worth spending money on, because I have no idea. We just keep spending, and if we don't have the full results before we fund new projects, you don't know if it's worth funding.
No, that sounds reasonable.
All right.
I think that'd be very helpful for the commission.
if department could make a note, I mean, in risk of getting into item 38, but if we could get that on future commission meeting, get that scheduled for the September or December, depending on if they're available in September, because I know that'll be right at the deadline.
That's the 90.
They're required 90, they have 90 days. I could try to push them to make it sooner.
So you can do September, I mean, it's close, if possible.
I think it's more than reasonable, but they are allowed 90 days.
Okay. So
Just as
either
a
way,
warning.
if we could get it on September, that'd be great. If not,
I might add that Gabe's done a good job of getting them, but typically, like he says, these people wait till 89 days, and then he's got to hound them and hound them and hound them to get their final report in. And on the new heritage that we propose, they will get paid when they submit their report. And that might speed the process up so we don't have to wait 90 days, because they get paid when they submit their bill, and then they got 90 days, and sometimes he's got to hound them and hound them and hound them to get a report. And so we're going to tie in their final payment is, their report is due when their final payment is collected. And that's part of the new heritage language that we have in there if we can get it passed.
okay, that's slightly getting away from the project status update, but it's kind of tied. But come on, what you got?
It's particularly important where a project may have 3 or 4 parts to it, where it can't be completed with just one grant proposal, because it's an ongoing 4 or 5 year project.
Yeah.
Because we're ending up having to approve projects, we don't know what results we got on the last one.
Yeah. Ongoing issues. Okay. That's it. Questions on this, on the 2011 Heritage Project Status Update?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead. Question.
can we go ahead and vote on the committee's recommendations for just the extensions to get that out of the way?
On the next item, We're almost done. We're on 21. We'll be on 22 in seconds.
Oh, okay.
Anybody have anything else on item 21? Questions? Seeing none, move on to 22. The question on item 22 is, can we just right now get the extensions out of the way? And absolutely. But first, before all that happens, we should have public comment
Okay.
on the item number 22. Public comment, please. I don't know if anybody, public comment, item 22, Wildlife Heritage Projects. On Moldy, welcome. Anybody else going to be talking, or is he the last one? All right, and Mr. Flowers will be.
Just a second.
Mr. Chairman, Don Muldy, Raine. I'm not sure exactly what we're talking about yet, since I haven't heard the stuff, but I just want to make a general comment about the privatization of predator control, which appears to be ongoing, which I think is a bad idea, and I oppose that. But what I'd like to say is that a week or so ago, I attended a mountain lion conference in Bozeman, also attended by Mr. Lackey and Allison Andreessen, who is a UNR graduate student whose project you've funded. And it appears that there are some remarkably interesting developments in the field of mountain lion research that I have heard nothing of in these hallowed halls. And perhaps it's time to find out something about it, because it may have something to do with how you should think about lion management in the future. Specifically, Allison Andreessen's project, which you've funded through Heritage Project, has to do with the DNA analysis of over 700 tissue samples taken from lions in this state since 2004. And what it appears to show is that basically most of Nevada is a sink rather than a source for mountain lions. For those of you who know about the sink source concept, the Sierra Front represents a slight source. There's also a source in south central Nevada, the Nevada Test Site and the Desert Wildlife Refuge. The rest of Nevada is a sink. And not only that, but the source that we have inside the state appears to have reduced genetic diversity compared to those lions which approach us from California. And I'm not sure that it's sensible to have our situation in Nevada be viewed that way. Also, there is some remarkable research going on in Washington through the Washington State University program, which shows that random, unplanned killing of mountain lions does nothing, first of all, to reduce lion populations, does nothing to reduce wildlife depredation, if you will, and it does nothing to reduce livestock depredation, and in fact may cause more trouble than you want with respect to human-lion encounters. This research is fascinating. It's been going on in several areas in Washington, and it seems to me that one of the things you might consider in the future is to get a review and an update of these interesting developments so that you could plan a more sensible lion management program, which I don't think we have now based on quotas and numbers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Don, just a second. Dr. Moldy, for your information, Project 1237, Allison Andreasen, we did not fund that. The committee did not recommend that be funded.
I don't know about this time, but you funded it before because she listed you as a sponsor on her program in Bozeman. So you gave her money before, even if you don't remember it. And it was money well spent, by the way.
Thank you. And as always, always get some good stuff from Dr. Moldy. That's why at the Mule Deer Committee, we had him as an invited agendized guest speaker. You had some good information.
15 more seconds.
You skipped 15 seconds. Come. We have anybody else? We have anybody else after Rex? Okay, well, if Candido will be next.
Rex Flowers, represent Wash County. On the Heritage projects, we had down, and I'm giving you this information because we could not get our minutes out. I'm still waiting for the minutes to be completed. Heritage projects 1201, 02, 03, 05, 06, 10, 19 through 22, all to be funded in full. Project 1232 to be funded at half, 41,000, and Project 1237 be funded at $53,098. 1232 came up high on our board's radar screen. It had to do with Tullydad up in northern Washoe. It's in area 015. When the original Deer Restoration Committee was started by the then Chairman Lent, we were asked to go to our different boards and what could we do for deer, and that area was is an area that has few deer now, a lot of migratory deer. It's taken a nosedive, and we've always, been back and forth with NDOW about how can we progress, and they kept telling us all about habitat. We just had a recent conversation with NDOW again. We're going to get a little bit of predator control up there during the heavy winter months. We're getting it fine lined down to a few months a year, but at least we're doing something for the animals at that time. This project here is directly related to habitat up there in 015, and that's why we're asking for the help on it. Plus the fact, you couple that with the fact this year they took, I think it was 1,500 horses out of that area. So we're really at a time when we can finally do something that could have a positive effect for the deer up there. Thank you, Mr.
Chairman. We really need questions. We're going to have this later on. You have questions of the speaker?
Yeah, it's just because it deals with 015.
Okay, go ahead.
Just wondering whether he's aware that in 3 weeks' time, they took 18 lions out of 015.
We're well aware of what's happening.
Plus about 100 coyotes.
And we're well aware of that.
Question?
It sounded good just going through, but the committee recommended probably over half of what the Washoe Cab recommended just by going real fast on it.
Right.
I mean, that was 1232. It wasn't on our list, but we did recommend probably a lot that you guys recommended.
Yes, you did.
Well, considering there's only 20% or so got funded, that's actually a very high rate. Okay, Candido, and then we got Clark County.
Candido Mendy of Elko Cab. I'll read the motion, then I'll go from there. The motion was made to send a letter to the Board of Wildlife Commissioners, Elko County Commission, and Governor Sandoval expressing our disapproval of the State Board of Wildlife Commissioner Heritage Committee meeting that was being held prior to the Elko County Advisory Board Committee meeting. So we were in opposition. That being said, I asked the board, are there 5 projects that you can agree upon? So we sat down and discussed all of them, and the Elko board came up with 1201, 1203, 1204, 1226, and 1233. Thank you.
For the record, Paul Dixon, I'd like to just state to this commission one of the things that I did with the heritage things and spent between a third and a half of my my CAB meeting on is educating the public to what our heritage projects are. So we went through every one of them and explained what was there, where we had matching funds, what they were doing, and we had people from the Humane Society and the Wild Horse Foundation there, and I think it was very educational for them to see how we spend our money. And I wanted to say that I was very happy when I reviewed where the Heritage Committee came up with their recommendations, and it was a tough year, and there were a lot of things they couldn't do. I will say that there's one project that you agreed to fund, and I would strongly disagree with continued funding, and that is Project 1227, which is the Maxim professors looking at things. Your statement, Vice Chair Lent, that you wanted to see results and what was going on, that project has been extended and moved on, and yet we have not seen anything. Last year in Fallon, we heard very clearly that they, or maybe it was here, we heard very clearly that they needed NDOW input to continue their project. This year in proposal, when you read it, said they don't need any NDOW input to continue. I think that we're throwing money away. You heard today a scientist from UNR talk about crayfish in Lake Tahoe. He gave you an honest scientific perspective, answered your questions, was not evasive, like Dr. Maxim and the doctors Maxim were.
No personal attacks, all right? Thank you. Please continue.
Well, if they're on here for funding Maxwell Technology, they have not been forthright, and I think continued funding of that is a mistake by this commission. I do agree with the rest of the heritage recommendations you have in there, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Person. Next. More public comment. Seeing none, we'll close public comment on this item, and we'll bring item 22 back to the commission.
Can we deal with the extension?
And let's have a motion by Charlie Howell on the subject. Okay, hold on. Let's hear a report. He's got a report. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'd like to tell the commission that the committee met 2 days or 2 half days, thoroughly went through the projects, we let public comment on every project. We talked about trying to scrape as much as we could. The numbers were 80.5% will not be funded and 19.5% will be funded. And so it was real tough. We had money left over, and we had about 5 proponents come up and for their projects, you know. JJ came up on a project, and University came up in a project, and we had like 20,000 left, and it's real tough to decide who gets them, but the committee did make decisions on that, and we did have extensions requested, and we had good reasons for the extensions, and everyone has a list of the extensions, so we accept the extension. The one we couldn't was Dr. Thane from the university, veterinarian. He had a project that was been a 3rd extension. It wasn't on the agenda, and he has until July the 1. The commission won't meet, so that's going to drop off, and that money will be lost. But it's been 3 years, and I would have been opposed to extending it anyway, but we didn't put it on the agenda. But we did approve the extensions, and everyone has a list of the extensions, and then everyone has a list of the projects that then we'll talk about the projects if anybody in the commission wants to. But it was it was tough deciding. It seems every year is tough. We have a lot of cabs, and every cab has a different idea of which one should be funded. The north wants the north funded, south wants the south funded, and so we could ask them if they get by with less. Like example, a fuel truck. I mean, you can't fund half a fuel truck. If you're going to get a fuel truck for the transfer